In my life, I've come across some works of art in all mediums that have had a profound effect on me. They get into my head, change me, inform my personality, resonate in my very soul. The year before I was born, an Arnold Schwarzenegger action movie was released to a mixed critical reception but a pretty great box office. That movie was Predator, and this is Big Damn Love. I was way too young to watch Predator when I first saw it. I don't remember when that was, but thanks to the Dark Horse comics and Kenner's weird attempts to make kid-oriented toy lines out of adult-oriented entertainment properties, I was at a very tender age when I first became enamoured with The Hunters. Now, this being the mid-90s and an age before DVD, it was also a time when my family couldn't always afford luxuries like pre-recorded VHS tapes. My first experience of Predator was a very grainy off-air recording from ITV, complete with ad breaks, and it was the TV version, so it was edited for violence, so some of the more gory and violent moments were cut out, and I loved it. I loved it.
Go on.
Now, I wouldn't see this movie uninterrupted and unedited until many years later when I was able to afford my own DVD copy. But by then, I had already committed most of this masterpiece to memory. Like so many 80s action movies and so many Schwarzenegger movies, Predator is packed with corny dialogue, peppered with one-liners, bombastic action sequences, and displays of over-the-top, muscle-bound masculinity. If I close my eyes, I can play the movie from beginning to end in my head. For the unblooded amongst you, Predator is the story of an elite paramilitary rescue team led by Arnie's Major Dutch Schaefer, tasked by the CIA with recovering an official held captive by rebels in the jungles of a Central American country. It soon becomes apparent that their CIA liaison, Dylan, played by Carl Weathers, is using the team for a different purpose. But this conflict is soon put aside after the realization that there is something in the jungle hunting the team, picking them off one by one.
There's something out there waiting for us. And it ain't no man.
The new objective is survival, as the unseen predator strikes without warning whilst Dutch and his comrades try to make it out of the jungle alive. You know, I don't even know why I'm explaining the plot. It's the least important thing in this movie. Don't come to Predator looking for thematic depth, hidden layers, or metaphor. You won't find it. This is a movie in which a bunch of burly men fight an alien big game hunter in the jungle. That's it. So, why is it so enduring? Well, there are a few reasons, and first and foremost amongst them has to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. Predator came during Arnold's meteoric rise to all-time great action star, and would allow him to continue to build his reputation for powerful and charismatic lead performances that would continue well into the 90s. This film contains some truly iconic moments for Arnold, featuring him on top form with his knockout combo of wry humour, powerful presence, and absolute brute force charisma.
Stick around.
If you ever need reminding why Schwarzenegger became such a huge star, just watch this movie. There's a reason why he was and remains an idol to millions. And even though his behaviour and politics are incompatible with my views on occasion, I still love watching him in things, and that's thanks in no small part to this film. Of course, Arnie's got to have backup, and when casting this movie, producers John Davis, Lawrence Gordon and Joel Silver knew that they had to surround Arnold with a team who could stand up to the star's incredible physical presence. Director John McTiernan was set on having Carl Weathers as a more experienced hand for Arnold to play against on set, and that was absolutely the right choice, if for no other reason than resulting in one of the most macho moments in cinema history.
You son of a bitch.
Professional wrestler Jesse Ventura was tasked with swinging around the enormous minigun, weird name for it, as the gruff Blaine, and along with Richard Chavez as Poncho, brings a touch of authenticity to the military parts of the role. Both men served in Vietnam, with Chavez in the army and Ventura in the Navy underwater demolitions team. Bill Duke, who'd previously starred alongside Schwarzenegger in Commando, plays Blaine's buddy Mac, whose descent into madness after his friend is killed is utterly compelling. Screenwriter Shane Black came on board as the team jokester Hawkins, as McTiernan wanted a writer on set to punch up the dialogue, which Black did uncredited and under protest. Shane Black would, of course, later go on to write and direct the 2018 sequel The Predator, which has not quite been released as of the writing and recording of this video, so if you want to know what we think of that, you're going to have to listen to the podcast. Sonny Landham rounds out the squad as the stoic tracker Billy, although the production company would only hire him on the basis that he had a bodyguard to protect the rest of the cast and crew from him. Finally, the film's sole female character is Elpidia Carrillo as Anna, a rebel guerrilla who is captured by the squad and serves as pretty much nothing more than exposition.
Only in the hottest years this happens. And this year it grows hot.
If there's one flaw in this movie, it's that they take someone as great as Carrillo and do nothing with her. But it's not a deal breaker and it's kind of its time. Be nice to have more women in it though. So the joy of this film is in seeing this cast of characters go through the motions as if they're in one kind of film, and then suddenly get the rug pulled out from under them. You could trim maybe 4 or 5 shots from the first 45 minutes of this movie, and you get a pretty great straight action flick. American soldiers blowing up communist rebels somewhere in Central or South America, not too dissimilar in fact to the aforementioned Schwarzenegger flick, Commando. Which is awesome, by the way. When the Predator shows up, or well, not quite shows up, to take Hawkins, the movie's genre changes from macho action movie to slasher flick with a creature feature twist.
What the fuck?
The soldiers' bravado crumbles as the team is systematically slaughtered one by one. And thanks to the work the movie does up front, making us get to know these characters, even in broad strokes, it still means something to us in the audience when they get picked off. The sparse dialogue is so full of character, and the performances have this precise balance between groundedness and caricature, so that we understand these people almost as soon as they walk on screen, and we do feel something when they get dragged off it. On the subject of characters, let's talk about the title character. Now, the Predator has become an iconic movie monster thanks to the wonderful work by Stan Winston and his team, and of course the designers who were on the project before Stan Winston came along. You see, the Predator originally looked very different. Behind the scenes material reveals an insectoid creature with a long, skeletal face. This design did make it to set, but the poor results led to a pause in production whilst the creature was redesigned from scratch. Now, the story of the troubles facing the creature and the production subsequently are well documented elsewhere. There's a great article over at monsterlegacy.net, for example. But the short version is that disappointment over the capabilities of the suit and the look of the design, as well as discomfort and confusion on the part of the actor who was playing the creature, Jean-Claude Van Damme, yes, really, led to Stan Winston's team taking over the project. Now, at Winston Studio, a team led by Steve Wang and including future ADI founder Alec Gillis, they created a whole new suit for new performer Kevin Peter Hall to inhabit. Now, despite the time pressure, Wang and his team, I think, had about 6 weeks to take the project from design to filming. The practical Predator effects still hold up wonderfully. There's a layered painting technique which really helps to bring the sculpting of the flesh to life. And when you combine that with the movements of the mask being controlled by a combination of Kevin Peter Hall's motions and animatronic puppeteering, it really holds up as a living creature. However, for most of the movie, we only see the Predator masked or invisible, and as such, it's its silhouette, like so many great designs, that carries it through. You've got that great sloping forehead and smooth mask, you've got the tentacle-like dreadlocks, the long clawed hands and the wrist blade, and that shoulder-mounted cannon that follows him around as he moves. The design is so full of exciting detail that drops so many hints about the creature's origins and culture, and yet exposition never spoils that, so we're left to draw implications from it. It's a truly fascinating movie monster.
You're one ugly motherfucker.
What really struck me about this movie when I revisited it for this retrospective was how well it's aged. It still looks great, and although some of the Blu-ray editions can look a little too clean with the remaster, I'm not just talking about the visual effects. John McTiernan and cinematographer David McAlpine really conquered the difficult shooting conditions and succeeded in making the jungle a highly effective setting for the action that's so well captured. Stray leaves and branches frame shots, green and brown washes the screen without obscuring detail. There's just enough visual noise going on to make it seem like the jungle is engulfing the characters without drawing from the main focus. Every so often, the solid green will be splashed with red as the predator makes a kill, and that sudden visual change really helps the kills land, both narratively and visually. As the movie reaches its climax and night falls for the final confrontation, the action switches to thick black night with Arnie caked in grey mud and everything lit by flickering orange flame. This visual switch up really helps to up the excitement as we realise that the end is near. And boy, does that end not disappoint. Predator is a true classic of the action and sci-fi genres. It stands confidently astride both with one foot planted firmly in each, and it continues to be every bit as striking and exciting as it was when I first saw it on a grainy off-air recording on a tiny TV screen. From the bombast of the camp attack, through the tense hunting of the squad, to the climax in the pitch-dark jungle night washed with orange flame, every frame of this movie oozes style, attitude and excitement. And that's why I have big damn love for Predator.
You never were that smart.
Thanks for watching this episode of Big Damn Love, and I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, as always, please like, share, subscribe, all that stuff that YouTube want you to do to jump through their algorithmical hoops and all that stuff. We've also got the podcast every Friday, both here on YouTube and wherever good podcasts are found. For everything else, keep an eye on @BigDamnCast on Twitter for other announcements of content, bits and pieces, streams over at twitch.tv/BigDamnStream. And if you do want to get in touch, you can always get us, bigdamncontact@gmail.com. Till next time.
You're hit. You're bleeding, man.
I ain't got time to bleed.
Oh. Okay.